The first public hearings as part of the impeachment inquiry were conducted in front of the House Intelligence Committee. Diplomats Bill Taylor and George Kent appeared side by side Wednesday, answering questions from the lawmakers that sit on the panel. That includes Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell. He joins me now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, thanks very much for being with us.
Of course. Good evening, Elaine.
So what are your thoughts? Do you feel as though you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish today?
Yes, and we wanted the public to hear for the first time from these public servants, two people who have served all over the world on behalf of their country and who saw wrongdoing. Ambassador Taylor, I think, said it best when he said this shakedown scheme was just wrong. But he put into perspective what was at stake for the Ukrainians and our own national security, that the Ukrainians really needed this aid, and every day that went by that they didn't get it, Ukrainians were dying. And I think for most Americans to think that the President of the United States would deny them this aid unless they helped him personally, that's a pretty selfish thing to do, and that's something that likely cost Ukrainian lives.
What's your response to Republican criticism that these witnesses did not have firsthand knowledge of the events that they're testifying about?
Well, not every witness will have talked to President Trump, but President Trump released the call record where President Trump's own words asked the Ukrainians to investigate the Bidens. Second, we would love for the president to allow Mick Mulvaney and Ambassador Bolton to come in, but he's blocking them from coming in. I think we can deduce that he's blocking them because they can't help him. But third, we will hear next week from Ambassador Sondland, and Ambassador Sondland has testified that President Trump told him everything was on the line for the Ukrainians if they did not investigate his political opponents.
So on Friday, we will hear from Marie Yovanovitch. She will testify before your committee. What is it that you are hoping to hear from her?
You'll hear more evidence of an abuse of power by the president. Absolutely, the president of the United States may pick his or her ambassadors. However, this president, with a corrupt intent, engaged in a smear campaign through Rudy Giuliani and others to remove Ambassador Yovanovitch so that he could clear the decks to put in place people like Ambassador Sondland, Ambassador Volker, and others who would carry out this shakedown scheme.
As you know, Republicans have questioned how there can be an impeachable offense when there was, in fact, in their view, no actual ultimately withholding of the aid, that in the end, that aid was released. What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, the aid was only released once a whistleblower complaint was filed, which the White House knew about before they released the aid, and once Congress started to investigate. So you don't get many points when you do the right thing only after an investigation is launched. Also, in America, if you attempt to commit a crime, we still hold you accountable, and that's exactly what happened here. So I don't think the president gets a lot of points for giving them the aid that they were entitled to almost 6 months earlier.
I want to ask about this new information in Ambassador Taylor's testimony. He said a staffer of his overheard a conversation between President Trump and the ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland. How is that going to impact your inquiry?
It's more witnesses who understood what the president's true intent was. And again, if this diplomat comes forward, what is alleged is that President Trump had an obsession, even the day after talking to President Zelensky, on only the Bidens. And again, that's what's, I think, at stake here is, will we allow a president of the United States to use the power of his or her office to ask a foreign government to investigate a political opponent where that only benefits them and no one else in our country? And we hope to hear from this diplomat very soon. And if it's new relevant evidence, we'll invite this person to bring this forward in a public hearing.
Today you asked both witnesses whether they were, quote, never Trumpers. Why did you feel that question was important?
I think it's despicable that the president has accused the people who have come forward as being never Trumpers, and I think they, frankly, were uncomfortable to even be in the position of having to testify about the president's wrongdoing. But they themselves are public servants, patriots, and have no dog in this fight other than to just do the right thing.
Given how polarized this political climate is right now in our country, how confident are you that testimony, upcoming testimony and the testimony that we heard today will ultimately change anyone's mind?
Well, for the first time for many Americans, what the president did, the taxpayer dollars of ours that he leveraged, and what it means as far as national security is just starting to sink in. And those people who are evaluating the president's conduct will reach out to their representatives, both Republicans and Democrats. And I believe that most Americans will say this is not who we are, this is not what we want in a president, and as a country, we should expect much, much better.
Congressman Eric Swalwell. Congressman, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Elaine.